something else. For instance, when you go home, you may find this ordinary-looking article of furniture, but Mr. Snicket would know it could conceal the deadly shoe polishing machine. If you look closer at one of God's creatures through a microscope, you may find that it looks larger in the microscope. An ordinary butter knife can turn out to be a vicious weapon, and the blood stains will never come out of your clothing. Somebody call the police! That's not the police! That's a hat! And that's a man playing the violin in an invisible shirt! It is those investigations that have led Mr. Snicket to publish a great number of books, some of which are for sale and none of which are appropriate. This, who could that be at this hour, is the book that Mr. Snicket was planning to read a short selection from out loud before excusing himself and running screaming from the room. Luckily, a dignified and handsome representative is here, and so none of that nonsense will be tolerated. Now, one interesting thing, I find it interesting. You may not find it interesting. I don't know you. Though I've been to your house. You're a sound sleeper. And your room is a mess. This book contains a secret message meant only for members of Mr. Snicket's secret organization, which is why he had the message photographed and projected up on a wall in a public place. Here is the secret message. Let's read it out loud, shall we?
Yeah.
That is terrible! That is some of the worst reading out loud of a secret message that I have heard here today. I see you're taught nothing in Raleigh or Durham. In order to teach you how to read the secret message out loud, I need to ask for 4 volunteers. It is a volunteer position. You will not be paid, and you need to know how to read, and you need to know how to speak. If you cannot read, and you cannot speak, if you are an illiterate mute, your life will be as miserable and terrifying as it has always been, because you will not be allowed to volunteer. You can read and speak?
Yes.
Don't brag about it. Just stand up over there, and you, wonderful, you may stand up, and someone over here. How about you with that terrifying device, and don't I like? How about you, ma'am, in the striped shirt? Come over here. When you see how humiliating it is, you'll be glad you weren't chosen. Now, come on over. I want you to all stand where you can see the secret message. So kind of maybe stand in like a diagonal-esque line. That's entirely wrong. And over here, and then you over here, and then you over here, and then I'm going to move you around really for no other reason other than the fact that it amuses me. It's taken me a while to learn, but this is actually my favorite part. I don't know why. I could literally do this for hours. Alright, and I suppose for the sake of etiquette, I should try to make an effort to learn your names. What is your name, madam?
Catherine.
Catherine, and what is your name, sir?
Will.
Will? You had to pause for a moment to think about that. But we'll just go with Will. And you know what? I'm extremely busy, so I'm just going to call all of you Catherine or Will. I don't have time. I'm an adult. I'm extremely busy. I don't have time to learn everyone's name. So, Catherine, if you will read the first half of that first sentence out loud, climb out the window in the bathroom. Go.
Climb out the window in the bathroom.
Terrible. Now, one thing when you're reading a secret message, if you want to make sure that you have every detail correctly, otherwise if you start to follow what the secret message says, you could end up in an unpleasant circumstance. Can you imagine if I was trying to climb out a window and I began to climb on a piece of furniture or a person I hardly know? And then suddenly I would think to myself, wait a minute, what am I doing? What will happen next? And it is for that reason, Catherine, that I want you, the certain details must be emphasized. So when you're reading it, I want you to emphasize the location of the window. Climb out the window in the bathroom. Try it.
Climb out the window in the bathroom.
Very, very nicely done. And then you, Will, I want you to read the second half of that sentence and meet me in the alley behind this shop.
And meet me in the alley behind this shop.
Terrible. Just as we want to know that the window is in the bathroom, we want to know the location of the alley, so the location also needs to be emphasized. And meet me in the alley behind this shop! Right.
And meet me in this alley behind this shop!
Very nice. And then you, Catherine, I want you to read the next sentence. I will be waiting in the green roadster.
I will be waiting in the green roadster!
Not a bad try, but entirely wrong. To emphasize waiting, I need you to take a dramatic pause. I will be waiting, dramatic pause, in the green roadster.
I will be waiting in the green roadster!
Very nice, Catherine. And then lastly, Will, I want you to read that last sentence. You have 5 minutes as bossily as possible. Now tell me, Will, Tiger, do you live by yourself, or is there an adult in your household?
There's someone in my house.
There's someone in your house. That wasn't quite the question that I was asking. I wasn't asking about local burglaries. I was asking if you lived alone. You live with an adult? There's an adult there who lives with you? Yeah. So I want you to use the tone of voice when the adult is being as bossy as they can be. You know, when they say, Will, clean your room, or, brush your teeth, Will, or, get me another bottle of whiskey, something bossy. So can you read that last sentence as bossily as possible? You have 5 minutes. Someday we'll go over the definition of volunteer. But in the meantime, I'll just work you like a puppet. You have 5 minutes! Very good, Will. Astonishing. You could be an impressionist. Like Monet. Or Van Gogh. Maybe I can pierce your ears. All right. Now that we've all learned our portion of the secret note, we will all read it out loud in tandem, each of us in our parts. Are you ready? It doesn't matter. You have to do it anyway. Go.
Climb out the window and wait. In the bathroom.
Very good. And meet me in the alley.
And meet me in the alley behind this shop. I will be waiting
Dramatic pause.
in the green roadster.
You have 5 minutes! Very good. Please give a hand for our 3.5 volunteers. You may all return to your homes. Thank you.
This is ITV Part 2, by the
What
way.
a wonderful young man Will is. Now, that seemed like it took all day. But nevertheless, it didn't take long enough, I don't think, for Mr. Snicket to arrive. And so I will now read, not as scheduled, a short selection from the book and then excuse myself and run screaming from the room. That's something Mr. Snicket would do, would be to read a short selection, read, and then excuse himself and run screaming from the room. I made up sterner stuff. I will be reading the entire book out loud. Chapter 1. There was a town, and there was a girl, and there was a theft. I was living in town, and I was hired to investigate the theft. and I thought the girl had nothing to do with it. I was almost 13, and I was wrong. I was wrong about all of it. I should have asked the question, why would someone say something was stolen when it was never theirs to begin with? Instead, I asked the wrong questions, 4 wrong questions, more or less. This is the account of the first. The Hemlock Tea Room and Stationery Shop is the sort of place where the floors always feel dirty, even when they are clean. They were not clean on the day in question. The food at the Hemlock is too awful to eat, particularly the eggs, which are probably the worst eggs in the entire city, including those on exhibit at the Museum of Bad Breakfast, where visitors can learn just how badly eggs can be prepared. The Hemlock sells paper and pens that are damaged and useless, but the tea is drinkable. And the place is located across the street from the train station, so it is an acceptable place to sit with one's parents before boarding a train for a new life. I was wearing the suit I'd been given as a graduation present. It had hung in my closet for weeks, like an empty person.